Welcome to Wales Today.
Remember this day is British Independence Day, and please...
Brexit campaigners celebrate as Wales votes to leave the European Union, describing it as a historic moment.
It's just a fantastic result. It wasn't just England pulling the rest of Britain out of the EU, it was England and Wales.
We have to protect our jobs. For the Welsh Government now, doing everything we can to maintain economic confidence and stability is our #1 task.
Voters in Blaenau Gwent showed the most support to leave, despite living in an area that's received significant EU funding.
It's in a matter of what we're having in money. It's a principle that we shouldn't be involved in the EU.
I think that there's too many immigrants coming in to our country and taking our jobs, you know.
So what now for Wales? We'll look at what it could mean for our economy, our government, and the effect it could have on all our lives.
Good evening from Paris. No talk of leaving Europe here. Wales' footballers aiming to progress at Euro 2016. Chris Coleman's men at Parc des Princes tonight. Tomorrow it's knockout football against Northern Ireland, a place in the quarter-finals at stake.
We have to stick to our game plan. We do what we're good at, and that's how we try and cause problems to the opposition. So we need as much as we can to take that emotional side out of it.
Good evening. Wales, along with the UK as a whole, has voted to leave the European Union. The result has been welcomed by Leave campaigners, describing it as a historic moment. But First Minister Carwyn Jones has said he fears there'll be consequences for jobs and can't see anything positive to come out of a Brexit. Well, let's take a closer look at the result. Just over 52% of voters in Wales backed Leave, compared with 47% supporting Remain. Out of the 22 Welsh council areas, a total of 17 voted to leave the EU, with most support in Blaenau Gwent and Torfaen. 5 local authorities voted for Remain: Cardiff, Ceredigion, Monmouthshire, the Vale of Glamorgan and Gwynedd. And finally, a look at the turnout. It was high in Wales at nearly 72%. Our political editor, Nick Savini, reports now on how Wales voted.
Remember this day is British Independence Day, and please...
They don't look like much out in the rain on the streets of Newport, but more than 850,000 people across Wales backed the cause promoted by these Vote Leave campaigners. Even for some diehards it came as a surprise, but for many here it was the result of years of work.
Last night, Wales voted for us to leave the EU. I mean, that's just a fantastic result. It wasn't just England pulling the rest of Britain out of Europe, out of the EU. It was England and Wales.
And as we've seen throughout the campaign, their message touched a nerve
You disgust me.
with some passers-by.
There was always a sense of the band of brothers taking on the establishment with the Vote Leave campaign, and it generated excitement and enthusiasm that, frankly, the other side failed to match. They just could not make their greater size count, and when they did start campaigning, they were too late to the party.
The most prominent Vote Leave campaigner in Wales was the leader of the Welsh Conservatives, Andrew R.T. Davies. He says he was proud to play his part.
The beliefs and aspirations of what we were seeking to achieve were magnified last night by the vote, and the substantial vote, to recast our relationship with Europe. And I believe my team stuck to their convictions, stuck loyally with me, and we have succeeded with the family of activists that were in the Leave campaign.
Their jubilation was in stark contrast to a downbeat news conference in Cardiff, in which Carwyn Jones warned of job losses. He also refused to take responsibility for the result in Wales, saying he did not choose the timing of the referendum. But he admitted there was a disconnect between Labour leaders and their heartland areas.
Too many people in these communities feel that politics and our economy has left them behind, and we have a real task ahead to undo that sense of alienation.
There was also a call for stability from the leader of Plaid Cymru, Leanne Wood.
In the next phase now, the chances are it could be even more difficult unless we are prepared to pull together as politicians and as civic society in Wales to make sure that our needs are fully understood by Westminster and delivered upon.
The result in Wales mirrored that in England. Cardiff chose to remain with the biggest majority, together with affluent areas like the Vale of Glamorgan and Monmouthshire, and the Welsh-speaking heartlands of Ceredigion and Gwynedd. In Gwynedd, the vote split 58-42. Plaid Cymru, which is strong here, had urged its supporters to vote Remain. With its university and large hospital, Bangor's population is diverse. The city's Pontio Arts complex was built using EU cash. There, its executive director, Dewi Hughes, says the future is now uncertain.
It would be a great shame, obviously, if those opportunities are not available to these kinds of areas in the future. So, again, I hope that in whatever new settlement comes, there will be the opportunities to obtain that kind of funding for economically disadvantaged areas.
But it was a very different story in Blaenau Gwent, the most Eurosceptic area, voting by 62-38 to leave. It was one of many former industrial communities in the Labour heartland in the South Wales valleys to reject Remain, despite receiving millions in EU funding.
I think people are trying to take control back from the government, really.
I think, basically, to get our country back owned by ourselves and governed by ourselves.
I think that there's too many immigrants coming in to our country and taking our jobs, you know.
For many years, Wales was considered one of the most pro-EU places in the UK. Not anymore.
So, Nick, what's your assessment then of the result?
Well, Lucy, I think worth just reflecting on the map and the breakdown of the results last night. So, multicultural, a large city like Cardiff voted to Remain, similar pattern we've seen in other parts of the UK. Affluent areas like the Vale of Glamorgan and Monmouthshire voted to Remain as well. So, clearly the argument that we've got too much to lose by a withdrawal did take hold there. And the Welsh language Plaid heartland areas of Gwynedd and Ceredigion, almost instinctively, I think, would have been very difficult for them to vote to leave. But the entirety of the rest of it voted to leave. Labour cities like Swansea, Newport, towns like Wrexham, heavily on the Leave side. And clearly the Leave campaign was spectacularly successful in persuading people to join their cause. But interestingly, you know, a lot has been made about the social divide, the wealth divide, but people have talked about a lot of these communities feeling left behind in the current economic climate. And in those terms, you know, particularly at a time of relatively low unemployment, it is striking that they feel so alienated from both politics and economics.
Nick, for now, thank you very much. Our political editor, Nick Savini. The economic case for Wales' future in or out of the European Union was key to the debate from the very beginning of this referendum campaign. Several top Welsh business leaders backed Remain, highlighting the importance of the single market and inward investment. But Leave supporters argued businesses would still be able to trade with the EU after a Brexit and that jobs wouldn't be at risk. So what effect will the Leave vote have on businesses and jobs in Wales? Here's our business correspondent, Brian Meakin.
Wales has a small number of big companies, including Airbus, Toyota and Celsa, and they largely supported remaining in the European Union. Airbus said it was concerned about future investment in its Deeside plant in the event of Brexit. It's now reviewing its plans.
Back in 2014, we announced a large investment in Wales, so that's still going on. We're increasing the automation to ramp up production in Broughton, and that's continuing. But future investments, like everyone else, we will have to consider those future investments, and I can't commit to that.
There may not be many big companies in Wales, but they do employ lots of people, around 38% of the private sector workforce. Medium-sized firms employ about 12%, while smaller firms have 50% of private sector workers. House builders, including another big Welsh company, Redrow, have seen their share value drop significantly since Vote Leave emerged as victors. The property sector is taking an immediate hit from the decision, as people expect there will be less demand for costly housing or other building projects.
Here
BRG is a construction company in Ammanford that employs 180 people. The construction industry was particularly badly hit by the financial crisis that started in 2007 as investors stopped building, but it bounced back.
They hadn't planned for or expected Brexit. They're now concerned about the future.
No, I don't think anybody planned for what happened today. As a country, Wales has benefited, in our view, from being members of the EU by virtue of the funding that has come back.
The First Minister's calling for Wales to be given guarantees that it won't lose out financially from Brexit, so work at businesses like this can continue. Companies don't like uncertainty, but successful ones are able to adapt in challenging times. The view on Brexit is very different at this medical leech farm in Llanelli. It trades all over the world, including with the European Union, but its boss says Brussels regulations have been damaging.
Yeah, I think in the short term we are going to have to make adjustments. As I say, we may have to increase our breeding, for example. We'll have to hold more stock, and that lead time will also play into it as well. But I think over the long term, once that initial setup is done, the overheads aren't going to be greatly increased by this.
What happens next for businesses is uncertain. Aston Martin, which plans to begin car production in South Wales, has asked the UK government for assurances. The impact on the potential sale of Tata's operations will also be closely watched.
So, as we've heard, house builders and banks have been among those to see the value of their shares fall furthest today. The pound has also plummeted against the euro and the dollar, meaning anyone who's about to go on holiday in Europe or the US is going to find it more expensive. But that weaker pound will make Welsh exports cheaper. Our economics correspondent Sarah Dickens is in the heart of Cardiff's business district for us tonight. Sarah, so lots of financial turmoil on the markets today. The First Minister expressing concern that Welsh jobs could be lost. Is that just being alarmist?
The First Minister, Lucy, is really worried on two fronts. Partly the jobs closely related to the billions of pounds that we've had in that special European money that we've been getting since 2000, but also because our economy here in Wales is very, very influenced, dependent even on foreign companies that set up here. There's more than 1,000 foreign-owned companies in Wales now, employing 150,000 people, and many of those came to the UK and to Wales to be part of the single European market so that they could trade without tariffs, without taxes and without those barriers. Now, as you say, the financial market of the UK has really taken a hit today. It recovered a bit, but it's well down. Billions of pounds have been written off the economy, if you like, or lowered from the economy. And I here am in the heart of the financial sector of Wales, if you like, here in the middle of Cardiff. It's an area that has attracted a lot of financial jobs. Recently, for instance, Deloitte has promised to bring 1,000 jobs here. Now, it all really depends on the deal that can be done between whoever is leading our country and the European countries around here. Now, one senior law firm has told me today that this morning two of their clients tried to get out of commercial deals because of the vote. And Aston Martin, they're bringing 750 jobs here to the Vale of Glamorgan, investing many millions in the Welsh economy. They've said what is vital is that Britain has a tariff-free agreement with Europe.
But briefly, Sarah, are there any immediate winners after the result, though?
Well, exporters, their products will be cheaper now if they export either to America or to Europe because the pound is lower. And we do need to remember those people that voted to leave, those people that voted to leave for economic grounds, believe very much that now the economy will be liberated and there will be growth.
Our economics correspondent Sarah Dickens, thank you. Well, during his resignation speech, the Prime Minister David Cameron said the interests of Wales, along with Scotland and Northern Ireland, must be protected in the negotiations that will take Britain out of the European Union. The leader of the Welsh Conservatives, Andrew R.T. Davies, says the result is an opportunity for Wales to benefit economically, socially and culturally. So what next for Wales? David Davies, the MP for Monmouthshire, was one of the most prominent Leave campaigners in Wales. Let's ask him. He's with Nick Savini. Nick.
Lucy, thanks very much. Well, David Davis, well done on clearly a hugely effective campaign. Come on, be honest with us. Did you expect to win?
Actually, no, because we were up against the party political machines. We were up against the government, the civil service, £9 million worth of propaganda, big business, the CBI and a whole range of NGOs. So, you know, it was always going to be an uphill struggle to throw together a campaign with groups of people from different political backgrounds, some with no political background at all, and to pull that one off.
Careful what you wish for and all that. You've got what you wanted. What's the plan?
Well, the government should have given us the plan as to what was going to happen if we were going to pull out. Now what we're getting is exactly the right sort of reassuring noises that we need that have been coming out of the Prime Minister today, who made a wonderful and very gracious speech, and I wish some of what he'd said had been said a few days ago. But of course what we need to do is reassure people. I mean, there's been all sorts of rubbish told to people that if you're not a British citizen you might get thrown out. I mean, come on, my wife is Hungarian, for heaven's sake. So I think we should... Well, let's just make clear, because I really want to stress this. There is nothing xenophobic about this campaign, and people who are in this country from anywhere in the world, in or out of the EU, are absolutely as welcome today as they were yesterday, and they are very welcome indeed. And those who are contributing to this country are always going to find a warm welcome here.
Broader economy. You've seen the chaos in the markets today. What do you say to people who will be deeply concerned? You know how difficult it is to attract jobs to Wales and sustain jobs in the Welsh economy. What do you say to people who are deeply concerned? You've just made it more difficult to do that.
No, of course not. We're seeing exactly the right sort of noises from Mark Carney today, for example, that we should have had a couple of days ago, that there isn't going to be a recession, that we can do whatever it takes to make to smooth out the ripples. I mean, a lot of this is speculation that's been going on, with people trying to make big amounts of money by buying and selling currency and shares on the FTSE, and that's going to settle down over the next few days. Of course, there'll be a boost for exporters if the pound remains slightly lower in value. It would actually be quite a good thing for many people. But we need to smooth these things out, and we need to make it clear we're not about to turn our backs on the European Union. We're not pulling up a drawbridge. We want to see trade with the European Union. Of course we want to deal with them, and we want to see that going on with the rest of the world as well.
Talking about smoothing things over, you know how hugely divisive this campaign has been. And, you know, that anger on both sides is not going to disappear overnight now we've got the result. How did, elected politicians like you, very prominent in the Leave campaign, how are you going to help people communicate with each other?
I mean, at the political level, we're all very professional. I mean, I've just been talking to a Labour politician on my way in. We actually get on much better with each other than you'd probably realise behind the scenes, and that's a good thing. But what I do recognise is that 48% had concerns about this, and this isn't a day for gloating, and what we need to do is show a bit of magnanimity and realise that 48% had genuine concerns. Of course they have, and it's absolutely right. Now we should reach out to them and say, look, we're not about to do anything stupid here. We're not xenophobic. We're not trying to pull up a drawbridge. We want trade. We want managed migration. We want to be working and friendly with countries in and out of Europe across the world.
David Davis, thank you very much indeed.
Our parliamentary correspondent David Cornock is in Downing Street tonight. David, there's no doubt about it, is there? British politics has changed quite literally overnight.
Yes, Lucy. I've worked at Westminster for more than 25 years, and there has never been a day like this one in that time. Little more than a year after David Cameron walked through that door as the newly re-elected Prime Minister, he is now on notice to quit Downing Street. Conservative MPs are preparing to choose his successor. Boris Johnson, the former Mayor of London, is the favourite, but if you go to the bookies tonight, you can also get 16-1 against the Preseli-Pembrokeshire MP Stephen Crabb, the Work and Pension Secretary, who's seen by some as a possible dark horse in this contest. Although I was told by one Conservative MP that he thought that David Cameron's successor should be someone in favour of leaving the European Union, which would rule out Mr Crabb.
And David, it is less than a year, isn't it, since we saw that swell of support for Jeremy Corbyn. He's now facing a vote of no confidence. Will Welsh Labour MPs support that?
David Cameron isn't the only leader facing difficulties tonight. Jeremy Corbyn facing a possible vote of no confidence next Monday. His critics are not happy, think he could have done more in the Remain campaign. Among those critics, the MP for Aberavon.
Jeremy did about 10 rallies over the course of the campaign. If it were the short campaign for a general election, you'd normally expect the leader to be doing 10 rallies in a week. So I do think that it was a lacklustre campaign. Not enough was done to win our core vote.
Well, Jeremy Corbyn says that he did in fact travel the length and breadth of the country putting Labour's case, but he could face an awkward time in front of his MPs on Monday.
David, thank you very much, and we'll be returning to the referendum result in just a few minutes. But let's turn now to Euro 2016, and Wales play Northern Ireland tomorrow with a place in the quarter-finals awaiting the winner. Thomas David is in Paris for us. Thomas.
Well, the vote back home has been headline news here too, but within the Wales camp, there's been no talk of leaving Europe. Chris Coleman is focused on remaining in this tournament. Wales will be favourites, and having dismantled Russia on Monday, the challenge now will be to replicate that performance against Northern Ireland. Here's Owen Griffiths.
We are going.
Along with at least another 20,000 Welsh fans, the City of Light due to have a touch of red tomorrow, with the green and white army also adding to the colour palette in Paris. But following the referendum result, there's more than just football on the minds of these fans.
It took me by surprise. I didn't expect that result, but where we've been staying in quite remote areas of France, and we had some Danish people, some Dutch people staying with us, and they were all totally bemused this morning. Not sure whether it was a foolish thing or a very brave thing that we've done.
My mind's been taken off it with the football on over here. I voted and I was a little bit shocked that we're leaving.
We've had a lot of people asking us about it, a lot of locals asking us about it. We've obviously been concentrating on the football. But yeah, obviously woke up to it this morning. Bit of a surprising announcement, but got to get on with it, haven't you?
It was also discussed in today's press conference.
Talking about being in or out of Europe, we're still in it, and that's all we care about, to be honest, as a team. So we've not, yes, on the news, but that's not our focus. We'll talk about that when we get back.
For Welsh footballers, it's a first year at Parc des Princes, but some fans will remember the ground as being the former home of French rugby, where in 15 games Wales won on just 3 occasions. Tomorrow, well, it's a different ball game.
This Wales team is physical, matches the work rate of the opposition, and fights really. So, you know, we know it'll be a tough physical game against Northern Ireland, and you know we'll more than match that as we always do.
Chris Coleman's men may be the favourites before the 5 o'clock kick-off, but Northern Ireland went on a 12-match unbeaten run before the start of Euro 2016. The last game between both sides ended in a draw.
Cardiff City Stadium.
The final score in March, 1-1 after a late penalty from Simon Church. A shootout would be a dramatic way to decide if Wales are in or out after tomorrow. And when it comes to a Euros vote, Welsh fans in Paris want to remain.
So after finishing top of their group, above England and cruising past Russia, will it get better for Wales fans? We shall find out tomorrow evening here in Paris. A game you can catch live here on BBC One Wales and S4C. Commentary too on BBC Radio Wales and Radio Cymru. Well, the sun is trying to break through here at the Eiffel Tower. Let's get the full check on the weather forecast for Wales now with Benaz. Hi, Benaz.
Thanks very much, Thomas. Yes, we do have some sunshine here in Wales as well, but there are a few showers lurking around, looking more unsettled as we head into the weekend and feeling fresher. So those showers will become confined to coastal areas as we go into the overnight period. Some clear skies as well, and feeling less humid than the past few nights, so should be more comfortable for sleeping tonight. Overnight temperatures 11 to about 13 Celsius, light to moderate westerly winds. Tomorrow we do have low pressure sitting across Scotland and also high pressure trying to build from the southwest. So first thing tomorrow morning, yes, there are a few showers. Some of them could be heavy and thundery, but by the afternoon, fewer showers and more in the way of sunshine. So a better looking end to Saturday. Those temperatures getting up to about 19 Celsius. A fairly quiet Saturday night to come. Some evening sunshine overnight, clear skies and light winds. Those temperatures, again, feeling fresher than the past few nights. In towns and cities ranging between 11 to 13 Celsius. In the countryside, down to about 9 Celsius. And then as we head towards Sunday, we do have a weather front pushing in from the west that will bring some rain with it. But first thing on Sunday morning, it's a dry start. Bit of uncertainty about the timings of that front, but I think by the afternoon, most of us will need an umbrella. So Saturday, the better day of the weekend, those temperatures will range between 16 to 17 Celsius. So the outlook for the weekend looking much fresher. Sunshine and showers for Saturday. Sunday, more persistent rain heading our way. Have a lovely weekend. Back to you.
Benny, thank you. Well, let's return now to the referendum result. Wales, along with the UK as a whole, voted to leave the European Union. 52% of voters in Wales backed Brexit, compared with 47% supporting Remain. Leave campaigners say it's an historic day. Let's get the final word then with our Welsh Affairs editor, Vaughan Roderick. So, Vaughan, what does this result tell us about Wales?
Well, one of the things it tells us is that Welsh politics is converging with English politics. You know, the idea that Welsh politics was very, very different from England's politics, well, that's just not borne out. No, you know, there was a little bit more enthusiasm for Remain in Wales than there was on the eastern side of the border, but really not that much. And we saw broadly the same patterns of the sort of areas that were voting Leave and the sort of areas that were voting Remain as were seen in England.
And what can we expect now in the weeks and months to come?
A lot of uncertainty. I won't call it chaos, but there are big questions that will need to be answered in terms of funding for Wales, in terms of the future of all of our political parties. There are questions about the party structure, and also there are questions about, about the constitution, particularly if there's another independence referendum in Scotland or moves towards a united Ireland, both of which are possible. So, you know, we live in a period now of political, constitutional, financial, economic uncertainty. Now, it may be that that is a price worth paying and that the country or the British Isles will emerge looking a bit different, but in a stronger, better place. That was what the referendum was really all about. The question I've got is whether that was really what was in people's minds when they voted.
Our Welsh Affairs editor, Vaughan Roderick, thank you. You can get much more analysis on how today's vote affects us here in Wales on our website, bbc.co.uk/Wales News. I'll be back at 8 and at the later time of 11 o'clock for now. Bye-bye.